All right, you guys, this is the recap for October 21st, 2025. And let's look at the tickers on our watch list and let's see if anything's set up. We'll start with MSTR. And remember, the way I like to play this, I like to look at this and go, okay, if this was the only thing I was trading today, I was looking at nothing else, did I have a setup based on the c-CIZ system? Okay. And the first thing I want to look at is whether or not moving averages lined up. So we have a bullish sentiment on the 90. We have a bearish sentiment on the 15. And let me get rid of this here. Bullish and then bearish. So they're kind of all over the place. So I'm definitely expecting some kind of c-CIZ trade. Okay, that's my first expectations for the day. Okay, you can see it has a nice big run to the upside here. Now remember the rules for the c-CIZ. No green fair value gaps on the 15-minute, right? And MSTR moving average. So we do have the MSTR moving averages, right? We don't have any 15-minute fair value gaps on MSTR. So that's what I call a no-no. That's a no-no. You know what a no-no means? It means there's no green fair value gaps on the 15 and there's no moving averages that are in order. They're all messed up. So it's a big no-no. So anyways, let's look at this in two different ways. Let's just say you took the green fair value gap above the 20 EMA just because it was above the 20 EMA and nothing else. Okay, that's it. Okay, here it is right here. You do get a green fair value gap at 949. You do get a retest, so depending on when you would have gotten in here to the upside, if you'd have taken it just to take it, because you take every fair value gap, right, that shows up on the smaller time frames when they show up on the whatever side of the 20 EMA the direction of the move is. So this would have been roughly, you know, a $4 move roughly. I wouldn't have taken it because my preference is to look at what's going on across all the time frames from the 90 all the way down, and they're messed up. So just based on that alone, because it's what I call a no-no setup, I just made that up, the no-no setup. The no-no setup means that you can go ahead and you can get into MSTR at the c-CIZ, right? As close to stop loss as possible. And so, you know, you could have gotten in anywheres in here. You got a move to the downside. I probably would be waiting for a red fair value gap or something, maybe a 9 EMA, but you don't have to because generally these always work out and you get pretty big moves on them. Okay, so if you would have gotten in right at the far side, you could have gotten almost a $4 move on this. If you would have waited for the red fair value gap and the cross between here, below the 9 EMA, we would have had a $2.74 trade. Okay, you can see Amir traded this one today. He did very well. Now look, why do we have targets? We have to respect our targets because look at what happened. It continued to the upside. Okay, we ended up forming a twin fair value gap on the 5. It respected the 20 EMA and continued to the upside. Does that mean I would still take this to the upside? I would rather take it to the upside than the downside because the biggest reason is even though we have the c-CIZ trade coming to the downside, we are going against the grain here on the 90 minute. Now, if this was the opposite, if we had the c-CIZ on the bottom side here, I'd be more likely to take this farther to the upside because the largest time frame would be showing bullish right here, but it's showing bearish. So as I'm taking this c-CIZ, my target is the 0 line, okay? And I might even trim on the way just because I'm going against the grain a little bit, okay? So that's MSTR. Any questions on MSTR? Let's go to Meta. This is the one that I took. And this one here was showing bullish on the larger time frame. I ended up taking it to the downside. It is showing bullish on both of these large time frames. Bullish on the 5. Looking for a c-CIZ trade. I felt like we had enough room to move here. So basically took Meta on this red fair value gap for the move to the downside right here. Right? We got the retest. Looking for a c-CIZ trade or pre-market low and ended up taking Meta down here. I only made 475 on it, so it wasn't a huge winner. But once again, looking for the c-CIZ trade on Meta, because the larger time frames are showing bullish, and on the smaller time frame, it's showing bearish. So I'm really looking for this right here. So right now, Meta is, hang on one second here, I got it. Bear with me. All right. So now I'd be looking at Meta to the upside here. Okay, we had the 100 daily in here, and I'd be looking for a move to the upside. If you decide to get in this right here just because of the moving averages, you know, you're looking for your target. Respect your target is up here at about what? The 735, about $4.37 away. Okay, so that's what's happening right now on Meta. Let's see if that actually works out. But to be honest with you, I most likely would be looking more at a pre-market high if we do get that far. We have converted the 5. It has turned into a bearish sentiment here. So we do have to be careful. It's not like one of the trades we'd be taking at 10 o'clock or 10:30, where we'd have a little bit more volume, and we could probably get a little bit of a faster push on that. So be careful on that if you're taking that one. I would have loved to have seen the c-CIZ trade show up a little bit earlier on this one. Probably would have taken it, but once again, I was just looking for a quick move to the downside, down to the c-CIZ on Meta, and wasn't an A+ trade as far as fair value gaps go, but was able to squeeze 475 out of it. Tesla, let's go to Tesla. I thought this was a really good trade on the c-CIZ. On 2 of them, let's talk about this. Okay. What do we notice about the moving averages? First thing is we have bearish on the lower time frame, and we have bullish on the upper time frame. Okay. On the 90, we're showing bullish, bearish, kind of messed up moving averages of 15, and we're showing bullish on the 5. So this would be a tough one. We do get a move up to the c-CIZ, right? We have a, now remember, I told you this. If we're going against the grain on the smallest time frame, right, we have a better chance of hitting the c-CIZ, okay? And everything is moving sideways. If I look at the Bollinger Bands in here, so you can put those in there. Okay, look at the injection candle we have right here. We're deep outside the Bollinger Bands on this one, and we're going against the grain. We're going against the 50. Definitely would expect a move off the c-CIZ. I was calling this out earlier, saying that was a spectacular move. This is one that I most likely would have tried to get in as close to the c-CIZ as possible. Okay, if you didn't, if you waited for this candle to close and you got in over here, you would have still got a decent trade off of this one here of about $3.75. Now, we also get a second c-CIZ, right, on Tesla here. And once again, we're going against the grain. Now, this time, this one seems a little bit more favorable because in the higher time frames, we're bullish. And so we want to continue that bullish trend to the upside based on the 90 and the 15, right? A little bit of dip here in the 15, but it's starting to push again, right? We're trading sideways on the 5, right? Sideways trading for me is always good news when it comes to c-CIZs because it's showing no trend, and c-CIZs work really good when there's no trend on the higher time frames. So we do have this push down here to the upside after it hits the pre-market, and you got to use your best judgment. We're close to the c-CIZ. You got the pre-market here. You know, does one supersede the other? Not necessarily. You might say, well, the pre-market is better because of this. c-CIZ is better because of this. You know, they're confluent. They're working together. On this one here particularly, I probably would be waiting for the break of the 9 EMA, which I did get here. Biggest reason is because I have a 15-minute fair value gap that's red to the downside, so I'd want to wait for a move above the 9 EMA here. Okay. So once I get a move above the 9 EMA here, wherever I decide is the best possibility or the best spot to get in would be right here. It's about a $3 move to the upside. Okay. Once again, to the target. You're on your target right there. The 0 line. That's Tesla. Let's see, we did MSTR, we did Meta, we did Tesla. Let's go do Amazon. Pappy was in Amazon here. This was a fair value gap trade. Look at everything is showing bullish. We got bullish on the 90, bullish on the 15. We're bullish on the 5. And if I remember right, we're bullish on the 90-second also. So everything's bullish. Okay, so where do you get in? You know, you got your VWAP is to the far left on everything, so you're showing out of the open momentum, big time momentum on Amazon. You know, there is a possibility. Now, I don't like these ones here at the open, but there's a possibility you could have gotten in here, right? Because you do have a decent move to the upside. The 20 is quite a ways away here. I can't see really well on that. About 60.6% away. We want a 1% move is what we're trying to attain here. So you get your green fair value gap. We might want to wait a little bit until we, pop over the 20 EMA on the daily, which I think is a good move. We do retest the 15-minute fair value gap here too, which is also showing momentum. We get the 20. Okay, here we go. This looks good. We got a 15-minute fair value gap. Price moves to 20, rejects. We retest the 15-minute fair value gap, which is above VWAP. You got the 20 crossing above VWAP, right? And then we break the 20 EMA and retest that also. So that's some good confirmation right here at about 10:03, 9:57 to 10:03 for a good move to the upside. Okay, and you can see that you can keep convincing yourself on this to keep moving up to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, the next level. At some point, you got to make that decision. I wouldn't have given you a hard time for getting into this trade earlier, at about 9:33, just based on what you have here. I also wouldn't have given you a hard time for getting in the trade here on this retest on the fair value gap, nor the move above the 20 EMA. The only thing about taking the retest on the fair value gap right here is you have a short distance to the 20. You could get another rejection right here, so you got to be careful of that. And I think that's why Pappy decided to wait to get in here, and then he ends up getting a green fair value gap on the 15 again with a nice impulsive candle. So really nice move to the upside there, and it ends up being a really good move. So like I said, there's multiple entries here. If you're going to enter early for that 20, right? We want to get this move right here to the 20, which is about 0.6% away. And then you have the move that is above the 20 where it retests. If you either add the trade or take this here, which is about 0.85. So altogether, they're about 1.3%, 1.4% move. Not bad. So that's Amazon. So let's do the Google L. That's what you're on, Shamuka the Bazooka. We are showing bullish here, actually, on that larger time frame. Very bullish, but we do get a move to the downside. We are showing bearish here on the smaller time frames. Okay, so if we're taking this, our first initial thought is we want to break the pre-market low. We did break it. We get our test here, and it does get down to the c-CIZ. So your first move down here is going to be to the c-CIZ, right? You got about a 0.7. The full move ends up being about 0.78. It's about a $2 move, which is not bad on Google. Not the best paying ticker, but hey, it's a winning move. Anything below this, if you're hanging on to trailers, they're worth hanging on to, because you can see on the c-CIZ here, we do get a move above, but we don't get the red fair value gap above the 9 EMA here, which is indicating that it still has weakness to it, okay? So you can see that continues to the downside. So this is a good example of messed up moving averages, right? Where you would expect a move off of the c-CIZ. But now remember, on the smaller time frame, it's showing bearish. If the smaller time frame had the 50 in front of it, then we would be almost all in on that c-CIZ trade, right? And by the way, it does get a c-CIZ trade here. It does get a c-CIZ trade. And that move ends up being about 0.62%, a $1.56 move, which is not bad, whether you're taking shares or options. You still do have a move. You take it at the 20 EMA, so not too bad. But once again, if you're going to take a CIZ trade, you do need that green fair value gap above the 9 EMA, which you never get here. And it ends up sliding even more. So you get a big move to the downside. So lots of signals showing you that you have downward momentum on Google. So even though our moving averages are messed up, remember you have a red fair value gap on the 15. So, because if we did not have that red fair value gap, then we would be all in on it. But because we have the red fair value gap, right, and the moving averages are a little bit messed up, we have to wait for the retest, that move above the 9 EMA, a retest, and maybe even a fair value gap, which we never get. So that's why you wouldn't get it. Okay, now, if you were in this to the downside, like I was going to repeat myself, if you're in this to the downside, based on the momentum to the downside, to the CIZ, you still wouldn't have gotten out based on your, having trailers, based on what you see here. You would have still had your trailers for a bigger move to the downside. And I think that's what Shanu is referring to, is his trailers are doing very well on that one, right? So good management, those management skills will come in time, right, after practice and doing these recaps and looking at how these play out. This is not something that you're going to get in a week or overnight. It's just not going to happen. All right, let's go to NVIDIA. And I think NVIDIA, you guys, was probably one of the better plays today, honestly. Nice move to the downside here. We are showing bullish on the higher time frame, but there is a but here. And that bullish is showing that there is a bigger move to the downside because the 9 is crossing the 20 on the 90 minute. Okay, we are showing also bearish sentiment here on the 15. However, the 9 is in between the 15 and the 20. So things are a little bit messed up. So definitely in favor of a CIZ trade or to the CIZ trade on NVIDIA. And then you can see in the 5-minute here, it was showing a little bit bullish, and we did end up getting the crossover. But things are very ambiguous here, and definitely looking for a CIZ trade. Okay, so as we get the momentum to the downside, we get our first red fair value gap, right, to the downside. We have the pre-market we got to break. Price does come back, retest the 20, and continues to the downside. We do end up breaking it with another red fair value gap, but we do have the crush it zone here, which makes it a little bit more difficult, right? But we get a red fair value gap in here also, and the larger time frame on the 15 is showing bearish momentum. So, it's looking like we could get a bigger move past the CIZ. So if you had taken this to take to the CIZ based on this opening fair value gap, which are the ones I don't like, you would have had a decent move to the downside. You would also had a decent move. Once you broke this here, you would have had a decent move to the downside here. This is about a 0.44% move, and you had a 0.87% move in all. Okay, the CIZ didn't really work out that well on this. A lot of momentum to the downside, but you can see that it did have some stagnation take place inside the CIZ zone here, the crush it zone. So it wanted to go, but what did we did not get, because we have the red fair value gap in the 15. We did not get the green fair value gap above the 9 EMA. Okay. I think these are tongue twisters. All right, let's see here. What was another one we could look at? Palantir. This is one that Ryan took. So once again, we're going against the grain. We're looking for a CIZ trade on Palantir. It's going to the downside, so we're going against the grain there. And let's look at the 90-second. It's showing bearish, right? But I'm still expecting a possible CIZ trade based on the 90-minute. The 15 is showing bearish, so we could get a bigger move. It never does get down to the CIZ. However, we do have a pre-market here. We have our opening fair value gap, right, which opens up. We got the pre-market right in here, so we got to wait a minute. It does break down. We get some consolidation in here. You have the pop before the drop, which makes this, it's kind of a fake out. It makes you think it's going to go even lower, which it doesn't. But if you had gotten in here, you could have gotten about a 0.83%. Now, this is what I talk about respecting targets, okay? You did not get stopped out here. There's no stop out whatsoever on this trade, even though it pops up. If you're willing to ride the rodeo here and get through this, you don't get stopped out. You do end up getting about a 0.88% move. Takes about 16 bars, which is about 20 minutes to take place. And you do end up getting that. And once again, I can't say it enough, you guys. It is super important to respect your targets. You have to know where your targets are. You have to respect them. If you don't, right, this is what's going to happen. And you're not going to take any trims here. Price is going to move up, and you're going to screw yourself out of a nice win today, right? Woulda, coulda, shoulda. So, but I don't really think that, we really had the best move to the downside on Palantir just because of the messed up moving averages. We didn't really have a lot of signals telling us that it was going to move to the downside. Other than this pop up here and this drop here, we had another red fair value gap. We had the twins in here. There's a possibility that somebody could have possibly tried to take this in down to the c-CIZ. But once again, you have the 20 EMA here in the daily. There's a little bit of resistance here. So would have been a tough trade. Would have been a tough trade, I think, to try to take. But once again, respect your targets if you do get into that. Let's see what's another one that we didn't cover yet. Let's cover coin. And then I'll call it coin showing bullish, but look at how the 9 is coming down to the 20 here. Okay, we are showing bearish on here at the open on the 15, and we're showing bullish. So definitely looking for a c-CIZ trade on this one. Once again, sideways trading. Bad PA today. This thing is stuck in between the pre-market high and low. Once again, one of the things I do like, I like it when the pre-markets are squeezed together. These are so far apart in the pre-market that that's kind of an indication of a choppy day. And these things are closer together. It's more of an indication of a trending day. Now, let's take a look at Amazon real quick. We'll come back to coin. Let's see what those pre-markets look like on Amazon. Okay. See what that's at here. Yes, you can see at Amazon, the pre-markets, they're far apart, but look at when price opens, it's right at the top of the pre-market. It breaks it immediately, and you get that move to the upside. So it's not ambiguously hanging around in the middle. It's right at the top. It makes its break. But when these are squeezed tight together, you generally can get a nice big run to either side if you're paying attention. Let's go back to coin here and look at this coin. So you can see coin when this opens up here. Right? It's also at the top with the pre-market, but it doesn't make any moves above the pre-market high. Right? Moves down, and we get a crossover the 9 on the 20. We do get the red fair value gap. We get the retest in here, but we have the pre-market here. So just there's not a lot on coin either, you guys. You got too many things in the way, too much traffic. Okay, you are showing a red fair value gap. So now you got to be careful on the c-CIZ. And you can see it never really does produce anything for a while. We do end up getting this move above VWAP right here. But once again, nothing. There's nothing. There's no setup on coin whatsoever. There's nothing here. There's too much ambiguity. The moving averages are all over the place. Nothing's crossed over. Nothing is showing entries anywhere. Okay? I think that's it. Take one quick peek at Apple. That was kind of a ticker on watch yesterday. And once again, I can just see the pre-markets here. There's not a whole lot here on Apple. We do get a c-CIZ trade on it. Okay. Bullish. Ambiguous. We're going against the grain here on the larger time frame. And then you can see on the smaller time frame, we got a bullish move here coming out of the open on the 90-second. And we are bullish on the 5, but we are bearish, right? Going against the grain here on the 15. We do end up getting, right, a green fair value gap showing up. But remember I told you now, if you're going to take this green fair value gap would not have been here. And you have this in here. So you do have messed up moving averages. You don't have a green fair value gap, right? And you most likely could have and should have got into this trade early on. Now the green fair value gap shows up and you're already in the trade, okay? This is when, if you get in here based on the price action, and we do get down here, it's a 0.78% move. you need to trim. You need to trim. And the biggest reason you need to trim this is because if I look at this 15-minute fair value gap here, I get that nice retest right here. And that's showing me right there, that move to the upside, that's it. That's the move. Okay, we fall short of hitting the 0 line on here, right? No, we don't. Back up, I'm looking at the wrong trade here. On the 5, we do hit the 0 line. So we get the 0 line touch, that is your target. You should be trimming. You should be trimming here automatically. And this was a winning trade here on Apple. It also lines up with the 15-minute fair value gap. Okay, you see that? So this was a pretty good move to the downside off the c-CIZ. I would call this basically a classic A+ setup on Apple off the c-CIZ. Right? All right, you guys, that's the recap for October 21st. We will see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning. All right?